भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नश्यके। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखा वेदांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्देशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौतसे नमः। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So we welcome everyone for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class as part of our Bhagavat Life program. Can we have the lamps there? Switch on the lamps. So we are on the third canto, 30th chapter, and we're going to read from the 8th verse onwards. So what is the subject matter? I'll just do a quick recap. In the 29th chapter, in the verses 5, 6, and 7, Mother Devati asked 3 questions to Lord Kapila. The first question was about the path of bhakti, which is the culmination of all the different yoga paths, which Kapil Dev explained upon being asked by Mother Devati. After asking about the highest subject matter, bhakti yoga, the yoga of love, then the follow-up question that was asked by Mother Devati was of Kala Chakra. And this was the subject matter until the 29th chapter and the first 7 verses of the 30th chapter, which we have covered until last time. And the third question that Mother Devati asked was about Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, Samsara Chakra. So we have discussed this before, but it's important and essential to understand certain fundamental facts. Why is Mother Devati, when she's asking about the most sweetest subject matter, that is yoga of love, why would she want to ask about samsara? Why she want to understand about Kala Chakra? I would like to quote Ishopanishad. All of you might probably remember this. This is text number 9, 10, 11. And there it is mentioned, Vidyam cha vidyamscha yastat vedo bhayam saha avidyamrityum titva vidya amritam ashnute vidyams cha avidyamscha. It is said that one should cultivate both vidya and avidya. Tad vedo bhayam saha, together. Both should be cultivated together. Uh, what's the idea about, why don't we just talk about spiritual world? Why don't we just talk about Krishna's Leelas? Why don't we just talk about pastimes? That's the thought of the day I'll be sharing. We have just started recently, Thought of the Day by Srila Prabhupada. That will be the message which we'll share later in the day today, where Prabhupada speaks about those communities or spiritual forums or the temples, a sangha of devotees, those who do not discuss philosophy, they actually become sentimental or they remain sentimental. So, discussion on philosophy is very important. Now, what is being philosophy being discussed here? So, it is said, Vidyam cha Vidyamscha, Yastad Vedo Vayam Saha. Ishopanishad text number 11, I'm quoting. So, one should know both about the Jadavidya and Paravidya. Knowing that Jadavidya, what is the result of Jadavidya? Avidya Mrityum Tirtva. Jadavidya only brings death. And Vidya Amritam Ashnate. And the Paravidya will give us moksha. So that is the theme, that is a way of studying scriptures. I would not say studying scriptures, but about studying about life. In that same context, Mother Devhuti also is asking about the highest, Paravidya, yoga of love. And then she again asks about Kala Chakra and Samsara Chakra. So, all right, let's come to Samsara Chakra. I just want to give that as background because some of you might get little frightened with the discussion. Today, we're going to go to Yamlok along with not Vishnu Dutas, but Yamdutas. And we'll witness the adventure that all of us have experienced millions of times in our life when we traverse around almost 900,000 yojanas, approximately, the distance to reach Yamraja's abode, and how different living entities welcome us back home, back to Yamraj. All right. Until now, it has been our home eventually. This is where we are doing life after life. To come to that situation, let's go to text number 8. Hare Krishna. तुम लोग मेरे सामने बैठ के ज़्यादा हिला मत करो, वरना साइड में आके बैठो. I get this. You're sitting in front of me. Just focus. If not, come aside. All right. Text number 8. We're going to start from third canto, 30th chapter, text number 8. So after describing about Kal Chakra, how time controls, we discussed around 10 qualities of time, right? Last time, if you would have made your notes, we discovered 10 parameters of Kal Chakra. Now we're going to talk about as the conversation proceeds ahead. So this discussion, you got to be careful while listening or reading through this. This discussion is about those people who do not have any spiritual life. This is about materialists. And when we are going through the discussion, think about it. How much you would relate to it or say that it's factual based on your understanding of the world. All right, let's begin with it. I'll not go much in Sanskrit, but some words is worthy of paying attention. But it's a section which I would really, really encourage. Chapter like this, description of adverse productive activities. This chapter you can mark it for yourself, and the chapter where Dhritarashtra quits home. So if you're getting too much trouble in your life by too much material attachments, you're developing a lot of material desires, you need to come back to the subject matter. इसको पढ़ने के बाद आपके इच्छाओं में ऐसी आग लगेगी, अगले कई सालों तो भौतिक इच्छा जागृत नहीं होंगी. विध्वंसकारी सब्जेक्ट है ये, अगर हिंदी में कहा जाए तो. All right. Text number 8. अक्षिप्ता आत्मा इंद्रिय स्त्रीणाम अस्थितीनाम चा मायया रहो रचित्यालापहे शिशुना कालभाषिना. So it is mentioned that how such a person who is working hard day and night gets enchanted by his family life. Akshipta means charmed. Atmendriya, his heart, mind, Indriya senses, Trinam of woman, Asitinam cha maya, although it is all false. Asat. Raho Rachityalpahe. Raha in a solitary place, Rachitya displayed Alpa. Alpa means Jalpa, Prajalpa. Alpa means conversation. Shishunam Kala Bhashinam. Kala Bhashinam. Shishunam, and by the sweet words of a child. He gives heart and senses to a woman who falsely charms him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embraces and talking with her, and he's enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. This holds true for he and she, vice versa. This is not something male chauvinist idea here. All right, Prabhupada begins with the purport. Family life within the kingdom of illusory energy is just like a prison for the eternal living entity. In prison, a prisoner is shackled by iron chains and iron bars. Similarly, a conditioned soul is shackled by the charming beauty of a woman, by his solitary embraces and talks of so called love, and by the sweet words of his small children. Thus, he forgets his real identity. Uh, this is something which I heard long ago. I was in college life or maybe in school life. One of my uncle was making a point. Um, he said we had gone out for a trip to Jaipur. Of course, this is Jaipur trip was in I was in 8th standard, so this is from that time, and we were in one of the that palaces, Kila over there. At that time, Akshay Kumar and Kareena Kapoor or some Kapoor, they had come for some movie shooting there. After that whole chaos that had happened, and then my uncle, my father, they were having a conversation. My uncle made a point. Now, when you see stars, you're kind of star struck by the stardom. The whole thing was cordoned off, and they were not looking like beings of this world. So much they get painted, na, and so much they maintain themselves. So they have some kind of effulgence around them in themselves, whatever it is. So some joking conversation was happening between my uncle and father. There were two, three of them, and then my uncle said, "Well, after all, whatever happens, the wife has to be beautiful to the eyes of the husband. Otherwise, husband cannot remain loyal to his wife. But how much ever the marriage becomes old, husband will still find his wife beautiful. Otherwise, he cannot remain attached to her." And I remember when he said, my father also laughed. He said, "Yes, that is true." And everyone kind of acknowledged that. And I was just thinking about it. I said, "Really?" And have you seen sometimes, I'm not making any discrimination that way, but have you seen some couples around? And when you look at somebody, maybe there's a beautiful woman and there's a clown walking along with her, or maybe there is a smart man and there is something else walking along with him. Have you seen this wrong combinations? And have you ever wondered, kya soch kar? Yes, but you may think like that. But in the eyes of the man and the eyes of the woman, the beloved is the most beautiful. That is something kind of being discussed here. Asitina chamaya, the illusory energy bewilders such a way it creates a falsity as reality. And when you're outside of that relationship, and when you look, you may sometimes wonder, yeah, this is not a good couple. Maybe, in terms of the looks like that, but no, those who are married, they find. So that's how the illusory energy functions. It somehow keeps you entrapped. Now, illusory energy is functioning in a different way altogether. Our relationship don't last longer, but nonetheless, the sexual attraction continues. So that's the verse it talks about. Both the woman and man are interested in their sense gratification. Prabhupada writes, actually, in the material world, there is no love. For sense gratification, a woman creates an illusory love, and the man becomes enchanted by such false love and forgets his real duty. One is therefore advised to become a grahastha and not a grahamedi. The grahastha's concern is to get out of the family life created by illusion and enter into a real family life with Krishna. Whereas the grahamedi business is to repeatedly chain himself to so-called family life in one life after another and perpetually remain in the darkness of Maya. The reason I read this purport, because the next following almost 10, 12 verses would be about what happens to a person who is stuck in a family life, how he works hard day and night, how he maintains his family, how when he gets jobless, how he's thrown away out by his own family, but yet he remains attached to them. despite going through all the tribulations and troubles. So that's the point. So the subject matter which begins here is because of Asitanam Chamaya, the illusory energy creates such a spell that the man or the person considers the illusion of falsity to be a truth. And he becomes so dependent on that relationship that he thinks, this is my shelter, this is my protection. If I have them, for example, I don't know how many of you would relate to it. The idea of getting married is so essential. If in case you choose not to marry, it becomes a great shock for everyone around. And I remember when I had kind of made this decision, and my mother was really worried. And her question was, Beta, जब तुम 50 साल के हो जाओगे, बूढ़े हो जाओगे, तो तुम्हें सहारे की आवश्यकता पड़ेगी. You see that the idea was the family is going to act as a protection. This is how the society kind of design of it. I mean, it's not wrong, but when it is a materialistic society and a family, nobody cares for anyone. Yes or no? This concept is only possible if it is a godly family, a God conscious family. There, people care, serve each other. And that was a culture that we come from. All of you probably would have come from a family life like that, where they had a God conscious, they had some kind of accountability towards each other. But the kind of grahamedis are described here, which means completely materialistic people. There is no question of that somebody is going to be my protector or somebody is going to give me shelter. Let's take a look at ahead. Text number 9. Graheshu kuta dharmeshu dukha tantreshu tandratah. Kuta, kutinati, graheshu kuta dharmeshu. So in a family life, kuta dharmeshu, what becomes dharma is speaking lies becomes the dharma. Just to maintain the family life, lie becomes the very much part of family life. Graheshu kuta dharmeshu dukha tantreshu atandritaha. Dukha tantreshu, which means spreading of misery. Kurvan means performing. Dukha pratikaram. And all its time and energy goes in kurvan dukha pratikaram, finding solutions to the misery. Sukhavan manyate grahi. And despite all this, Sukhavan manate grahi. Manyate means things in the mind. Such a person thinks, my household life will eventually give me happiness. Agar if I can fix this problem, tomorrow onwards, I'll be happy. But just after tomorrow, I fix this problem. Day after tomorrow, I'll be happy. If in case you're not a family people here, all are bachelors, if in case, again, don't see from the devotee point of view, see from the karmi point of view. If you look at your family situation, did you notice that if one problem concluded, right after that, there was another problem? How many of you agree? And all the effort was in kurvan dukha pratikaram, resolving that problem. And unless that problem gets resolved, the person will not sit peacefully. Yes or no? And the family life is like this. First, if you don't get married, then there is a problem, get married. Parents are behind. You get married, then you don't have a child, then get a child, another problem. If you get a child, you get a girl or a boy, you didn't got the other person, get another child. You get another child, then they fall sick, treatment, then get them admission. And you know the story, how it goes on. Like this, it goes. That's what it's mentioned by Sukhdev Goswami here. The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. Like this beautiful purport, Prabhupada writes about how politics and diplomacy. There is a very interesting line Prabhupada writes in the purport. The material world in the middle of the purport is so made that unless one becomes a clever diplomat, his life will be a failure. Please mark it and think about it. The material world is so made that unless one becomes a clever diplomat, his life will be a failure. It's amazing. I have seen when you host a program, an event, and let's say a marriage ceremony or something, the situation is such that whoever person has brought a gift, that is documented for the sake, for the purpose, so that when they call you for the function, you're also able to reciprocate, I believe, in the same manner or something. Yes, Sachin. I mean, complication, man. You know, यार गिफ्ट लेना टेंशन है, गिफ्ट लेने का डॉक्यूमेंट करो, and then you spend hours together. कौन क्या लाया? And maybe I believe उसका मूल्यांकन भी होता होगा, उसका amount भी check होता. I'm giving one example. I don't have a family life. I've seen around something those in family life can relate to it probably. Politics and diplomacy said if you're not a clever diplomat, his life will be a failure. Like that, anyways. Becomes full of diplomacy. This is interesting line. Human society competes nationally or internationally. In the attempt to be successful, the entire human society becomes full of diplomacy. We should always remember that in spite of all diplomacy and all intelligence in the struggle for existence, everything will end in a second by the supreme will. Therefore, all our attempts to become happy in this material world are simply a delusion offered by mind. I can share my experience. When I was working in America, I was directly working under the CTO of our company. Before also and after joining Juniper Network also. I remember one day he was giving me $1 million tip how to become successful in America in the corporate life. And the reason behind the tip was all the research effort largely was carried out by me. I will do all the research thing and all that, and my CTO will proudly go and present. And he knew nothing about the subject matter. And he was one of the noted authors in the domain of security because he has written some books on security. And if you talk to him, his GK was so pathetic on the subject matter of security, or maybe outdated, whatever you call it. So at one point of time, I kind of hesitated giving my research work. मैं कहा यार क्या काम मैं करूं? मुझे तुम लोग. So he kind of sensed that, Madan's mind is becoming a little hesitant and all that. So we were like a good friends. So one day on a lunch together, he told me, he said, let me give you $1 million tip to become successful in corporate ladder. I said, what? He said, if you want to be successful in a corporate ladder, then you should learn to speak. Speak anything and everything. And speak so convincingly. Log bolenge, isko sab pata hai. And I can tell you, since that time he told me that, I began to observe. I used to go all kind of international conferences. I used to be often part of this important company delegates. And I would notice everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone. And I'll tell you, this was a major reason that frustrated me in my job life. I said, this is cheating. And they were so much bent on me that I should also speak like this. Full-fledged. Itna confidently bolo. Samne wale bolega, sahi bol raha hai. And I'll tell you one example. There is called as Black Hat Conference. If you're in security, you know that. This used to be the world's top-notch conference. It used to be 5 days long in Las Vegas every year. And having an opportunity to give a keynote session in a Black Hat Conference is a very prestigious thing. So I went once only because I also had a presentation that year. That was my last year in America. That's the reason I went. Anyways, so I remember hearing the keynote speech. You have world top-notch researchers sitting there. And there'll be more than around 2,000 people are sitting there. Everyone is brilliant in their own capacity in the field of technology. They're sitting there. One gentleman comes on the stage. I don't remember who that was. All those details here excluded. He came and spoke for 45 minutes to 50 minutes. वो केवल फेंका. ऐसा फेंका कि किसी को समझ नहीं आया. मैं मोबाइल सिक्योरिटी डोमेन में उस समय बहुत टॉप पे था. मुझे भी समझ में नहीं आया क्या बोला. And then I realized if you want to fool people, you speak in such a way that they cannot understand. And when they cannot understand, then they will understand that you know better than him, therefore you're not understanding him. Are you getting the point? And I remember people were acknowledging his presentation. मैं पागल है ये, वो कुछ भी होके चला गया. Something you blabbered here करके. And उसका classic example है हमारे गुरुजी, हमारे सद. वो भी ऐसी बोलते हैं, अगर आपने कभी सुना है. He speaks here करके, तो बोलते हैं वाह क्या बोला, सब ऊपर से गया, अच्छा बोला होगा, तभी समझ नहीं आया. So this is how the cheating goes on. Anyway, I don't know why did I came. So diplomacy. I don't know why did I make this plan. Anyways, text number 10. Athe apadite guruvya himsayitas. But please pay attention to this. Start looking at the world from this point that I said. You'll see how everyone is cheating. And this is college diplomacy. And this is, Prabhupada was saying, nationally, internationally, and this there so much in the community. प्रभु जी आप जैसा कोई नहीं ये हमारे उद्धारदाता है you know and then another person comes आप जैसा कुछ नहीं आप ही हमारे उद्धारदाता है you know this is so much therefore as a devotees one of the quality of devotee is simplicity and straightforward we should be careful in 11th canto there is a verse that says when we praise somebody when we do over exaggeration while even doing praising that is considered aparadh because you cannot do all the trick of the game amongst the devotees you can do it in the outside world we have to be very careful of this thing uh, and mothers are very good in this kind of diplomacy kind of they are therefore you see on the human resources public relations is it correct or not this because it's just for natural for them to speak in such a flowery language that Vedas will also feel like they're sweet words like this. I'm just saying something factually. I'm not intending to anyone. Okay. Text number 10. Okay, so ye tha hamara in terms of householder. Now about the money. Arthir apadite gurvaya. Arthir apadite. If he can secure money, that person is considered to be gurvaya, the greatest of all. Himsa yetas tatas chatam. Himsa by hook and crook, by violence. Pushnati Poshana, protecting, providing others. Shesha Bhugyati Adha Swayam. This is corporate life. Take a look. He secures money by committing violence here and there, and although he employs it in the service of his family, himself eats only a little portion of the food thus purchased. And he goes to hell for those whom he earned the money in such an irregular way. Prabhupada says, there's a Bengali proverb, the person for whom I have stolen accuses me of being a thief. The family members for whom an attached person acts in so many criminal ways are never satisfied. An illusion, an attached person serves such family members by serving them, he is destined to enter into hellish condition of life. Next paragraph, the process of illusory service to society, country, and community is exactly the same everywhere. The same principle is applicable even to big national leaders. And Prabhupada quoted Mahatma Gandhi for that reason. Mahatma Gandhi tried serving the nation. At the end of the day, he was himself shot dead like this. That was just to make a point here. But if you look at it, the subject matter which is being discussed here right now is when you try to solve material problems with material solutions, it only aggravates the problems. So here talked about Arthira Padate Gurvaya. You buy hook and crook, you try to earn money, and then you try to maintain family and think yourself to be a great protector, etc. But you're also living on some remnants, which you get it by purchasing from your money like that. And eventually, the family you're trying to serve is always thankless, ungrateful, and eventually you go to the hell for that because you're doing all the violent crimes to earn money. And if you look at it, the point, the principle behind this statement here is just like if somebody wants to do some humanitarian work, he wants to feed the poor. How many people can you feed and for how long? Can you really, just by distributing wealth, can you eradicate hunger? Is it possible? It's not possible. Hunger can be eradicated by proper education, where everyone in the society is trained to care for others, where everyone is trained to stand on their own feet. And all of you hopefully would understand, if in case you understand how the politics of a country function, wherever if any government wants to, any political party wants to get into the government, they announces a lot of freebies. If we get into the power, we'll give you free electricity, free bus ride, free this, free this, free this, free this. And by doing that, people think that's going to work, but that doesn't work. The right way is to educate. So nonetheless, there's a point here mentioned, thinking that just by my strength, if I can make money, everything will be okay. It doesn't work like this. The process of illusory service to society, country, and community is exactly the same. And then text number 11, he works hard, so hard. And in that occupation, he doesn't find even satisfaction. Text number 11, Vartayam Lupyamanayam Arabdhyayam Punha Punha Lobha Abhibhutha Niyasatva Para Arthe Kurate Spraham. Vartayam, which means he works hard, and yet his desire to earn wealth is hampered again and again, and he remains greedy for others' wealth. Is that correct or not? Even if somebody becomes the CEO of a company, do you think now he'll be content and happy? What do you think about it? Now, right now, at your level, you may think CEO is a big post. Somebody becomes a CEO, he'll still be unhappy only. That's the point. When he suffers reverses in occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself, but when he's baffled and attempts is ruined, he accepts money from others because of excessive greed. And now, because of which, he develops negativity. Kutumba bharana kalpo manda bhagyo vritodhyamaha shriya krapano dhyaya shavasiti mudahadhi kutumba. And because of this, he is not able to really maintain his family life. He is mandabhagya, and everything that he does goes in vain. Shriya Vihina. Shriya Vihina means Shriya means beauty. He becomes deprived of beauty. Krapano, he becomes miserly. Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. One classic example for this, if you want to understand this series of verses, you can have it as Dhritarashtra at the back of your mind. You'll see how it all suits to him. Now, this is something which happened 5,000 years ago. So you can imagine what will be the situation of people today, even far worse than this, like this. All his life, he wanted to be the king. By hook and crook, by violence, he became the king. Despite being the king, he could not be happy for long. He always had failures and challenges to maintain his kingship. He always had the fear of Pandavas coming back. And eventually, that fear became truthful, or fear became fulfilled when Pandavas did came back, fought with his sons, and Dhritarashtra lost all his sons. In an attempt to maintain his family life and to do the best, he failed, and he grieved miserably for his failures. And eventually, he was maintained by those people whom he considered enemies all his life, and yet he continued to live in the family life shamelessly, depending on the remnants thrown by the Pandavas. That is the following verses now. Text number 30. Family members reject such a person. Evam swabharana kalpam tat kalatradayastataha na driyante yathapurvam kinash eva gocharam. Seeing him unable to support him, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before. Even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old, worn out oxen. Look at the history. How many times the son have killed his father just to become the next king? Because the father has become old and is not giving up his position. Yes. Remember, we gone to Rajasthan. What was that? Kumbhalgarh. Kumbhalgarh was never defeated. It's said to be the second wall of China. So spread around 30 kilometers or around. And that fort was defeated once only, when the son of the king, who was a teenager, who killed his father when he was worshipping Lord Shiva in the temple. Remember that story? We discussed about that. Why? Because he wanted to become the next king, and he was thinking, my father had been king for a long time. And this is happening at the highest class of the society, who is actually supposed to maintain everyone. Look at the Nepal history, how Nepal went into turmoil, how the monarchy was lost, because the whole royal family back in 2001, I believe, 2002, 2001 and 2, the whole royal family was killed, butchered by another family member like this. That's the thing. And this principle now to different levels manifest in different relationship. Family members who reject him once they see you are not useful for them. Like this. And the example given in the verses, Inash Aiva Gojaram, just like a farmer, when the ox becomes old, is not used for him, he sends the ox away, like that. So the selfish, the materialistic people, they live only for their own self. And when their selfish purposes is not being fulfilled, they can become, there's no limit to what they can become harsh. Then text number 14, despite all this saying, such a person would not retire. He'll continue living his family life. Tatrapi jata nirvedo bhriyamana swayam vrati jaryo patavai rupyu marana mukhe grahe. The foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. In the Vedic way of life, one has to give a family life when he is strong enough. Prabhupada is talking about Vanaprastha and then sannyas. It is advised that before getting too weak and being baffled by material activities and before becoming deceased, one should give up family life and engage oneself completely in the service of the Lord for the remaining days of his life. But somehow this illusionary energy keeps us so much, अरे हमारे बच्चों का शादी हुआ है, बच्चों के बच्चे होंगे, उनका देखभाल कौन करेगा, हमें करना है, उनकी पढ़ाई कौन कराएगा, हमें करना है, उनकी शादी भी हमें ही करानी है. So that's how the person gets caught up. But that was not the Vedic culture. After appropriate age, the person would retire. And look at it, the reality is still same. You retire or not, your kids eventually send you to a retirement home only. Right? It's called retirement home only, old age homes. And then, so I don't know how many of you know, now a concept has come that was there in America for long. When I was there, it was there. Now concept in India has come. Now there are dedicated societies are created only for old age people. And there's one society like this in Hinjewadi also, प्रांजपे प्रोजेक्ट्स, जहाँ पे हमारा जन्माष्टमी था ना, उसके पीछे ही है उस जगह पे. उस सोसाइटी में केवल ओल्ड एज लोग रहेंगे. और वो कौन ओल्ड एज लोग हैं? जिनके बच्चे उनसे दूर रहते हैं. They're staying somewhere in America, here and there. So like that, a society has been created where all the old people can come and stay together. And then there are certain facilities that have been created for them. Now, this is not because somebody was really worried for them. Somebody saw a good marketing opportunity. So there's a good business opportunity to create a society where all old age people, and you can imagine all the kids will be sitting somewhere abroad. They don't want to come back here, neither they want to get their parents there. Yes, you know, all right, we'll buy 1 crore apartment, तो लोग शांति से रहो. अगर इतना ही हो तो अपने संग लेके जाते ना. Yes, you know, I mean, how can you have this kind of a society in a city? You have this in a town, makes sense, because the son and daughter left the town to come to city. You are having in a city where that the son went, Mars, कहाँ गया वो? अब वो सिटी में तो आया, सिटी को छोड़ के कहाँ जाएगा? I mean, where did he go? So that's the whole thing. Text number 15. Aste, okay, we'll read the answer. Thus he remains at home just like a pet dog, eats whatever is so negligently given to him. Afflicted with many illness, such as dyspepsia and loss of appetite, he eats only very small morsels of food and becomes an invalid who cannot walk anymore. It's worthwhile to visit such kind of old age home. But I was staying in Columbus, just 2 blocks away, there was this old age home. It was kind of a town home kind of a thing. And very pitiable condition. Well, we can't compare Americans with Indians in that sense. And they were drunkards and crazy people. But yeah, so lonely, you know. Nobody to really call them up. They had no friends, family members, living alone, struggling alone. And this is the direction where our society is going now today. Prabhupada writes in the purport, beautiful thing. Vedic literatures enjoin, therefore, that before the arrival of such miserable conditions, one should leave home and die without the knowledge of his family members. If a man leaves home and dies without his family members knowing, that is considered to be a glorious death. But an attached family man wants his family members to carry him in a great possession even after his death. Although he will not be able to see how the procession goes, he still desires that his body be taken gorgeously in possession. Thus, he is happy without even knowing where he has to go when he leaves his body for the next life. Now, his next life is coming soon. What awaits him? Text number 16. In that distressed condition, one's eyes bulge due to the pressure of air from within. Now, the final movements have been described. Old age. The eyes bulge out. His glands become congested with mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces a sound like grrr, grrr, a rattling within the throat. Text number 17. In this way, he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by lamenting friends and relatives. And although he wants to speak with them, he no longer can because he is under the control of time. For format, Prabhupada writes in the purport. How many of you have noticed that? Please tell me truthfully. For formality's sake, when a man is lying on his deathbed, his relatives come to see him. And sometimes they cry very loudly, addressing the dying man, "Oh, my father! Oh, my friends! Oh, my husband!" In that pitiable condition, the dying man wants to speak with them and instruct them of his desires, but because he's fully under the control of time factor, he cannot express himself. Prabhupada says, for formality's sake. Now, what does it mean by Prabhupada saying formality's sake? Prabhupada, in one way, if you look at his life, when he decided to walk away from his family life, it's a very emotionally wrenching incident. Now, you know the whole story of how Prabhupada struggled to get his visa and everything. Prabhupada had to board a ship from where? From where did Prabhupada boarded Jalduta? Prabhupada boarded from Calcutta. And Prabhupada had to struggle to find an accommodation in Calcutta. That's where his family, everyone lived. And when Prabhupada was going to board the ship, there was nobody from his family member except his eldest son came, although he came from a distance. Nobody came, and Prabhupada is going. Now, everyone imagine at that point of time thought he ain't coming back. There's no question of his surviving the harsh winter, the harsh weather of America, plus when nobody knows him there. It's not that he's going to get red carpet welcome. Yet none of his family members. Now, Prabhupada was born and brought up in Calcutta. Now, if you just think back of your native place, would you agree all your relatives, friends, family members, everyone is there? मामा चाचा ताऊ सब होंगे वहां पर तो क्या शिला प्रभुपाद जी के नहीं होंगे? Not even a single person came. Now, fast forward to death. What happens at death? The same thing. If you look at the trajectory of life, let me make this point. Let's see if it makes sense or not. As long as you're a bachelor, you will have some sense of affection towards your family members, to your brothers and sisters. The moment you get married, because the more and more we become selfish, our capacity to share love and receive love becomes very, very narrow and limited. Now, once you get family member, once you get into family life, all right, then there is a conflict between giving attention to your current family or to your parents' family. That challenge. But the moment you have a child, if any one of you have any relatives, your brother and sister who have got a child, did you notice the amount of time they were able to give you after having a child and before? Before they would, you'll always have often interaction. But once you have a child, then all the child takes all the attention and your all love gets experienced there. You will notice that interaction reduces drastically. And what to speak when the child grows up and all the family responsibility comes? Yes, Ashish, quite. So what is the value of love? Prabhupada saying in material world, there is no question of love. So we are able to exchange to some extent based on our need. Because I didn't have a wife, I didn't have a child, so I had needs. So I'll call my brother, I'll call my sister, I'll call my mother and father. But now I've got my family, I've got my wife, I've got my kids. The same person would not have time to call now. That's not love. That is something that I was fulfilling my need. That's the reason Prabhupada is saying here. And I remember when I was going through that particular incident of Prabhupada going to Calcutta, staying in some third class ashram like this. He had to spend a few days over there. Not even a single person came. Didn't came, that's okay. At least the family who he cared all his life, the sons who were grown up, they could have come and given something to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you're going, at least take some money. Not even a single penny was brought by them. And you served your whole life taking care of your kids and the family. And this is the end result. So Prabhupada is saying for formality's sake, it happens. Text number 18. Thus the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses, maintaining a family, dies in great grief. Seeing his relatives crying, he dies most pathetically in great pain and without consciousness. Because of his deep family affection, he forgets his main duty of controlling the senses and improving his spiritual consciousness. So this was text number 18. I would like to draw your attention again to text number 8. Let's go to text number 8. Akshipta atmendri hastrinam asitinam jamayaya. He gives an heart and senses to a woman or to a family. He enjoys solitary embraces, talking with her, and enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. Asitanam, Prabhupada didn't mention, you have falsely charms. Asitanam chamaya. This is all false. This is all illusory. And that illusion bubble burst in text number 19 when he has his next set of relatives waiting to welcome him back home, back to Yamaraja's abode. And these relatives are not to his liking. They're terrifying. What is it? Yamdutau tada prapto bhimo sarvekshano sa drashtva trashta hridayaha sakran mutram vimunchati. वो इतने अच्छे रिलेटिव्स हैं उसको देख के उसका मूत्र निकल जाता है. मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ, श्लोक कह रहे हैं. हाँ, sakran mutram vimunchati. All right. At death, he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him, their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear, he passes stool and urine. Or talks about transmigration like this. Text number 20. यातना देह आवृत्या. अब क्या होता है? आपके नए रिलेटिव्स तो आ गए. ये नए रिलेटिव नहीं है, these are your oldest relatives. They come back again then again to us. What you had in this life were temporary. You may not see them again, and you will not see them again, because even if you see them in different form. But this Yamdutas, they come in their same form. Their form is not changing. So these Yamdutas, our oldest relatives, come back to us again and again. That is what it's saying. And उनको देखे हम खुशी में मूत्रधारा कर देते हैं. Yatana deha avrati. And then what happens? As a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of a state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamdutas, who bind him by the neck with strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe. And now the verses will describe what the punishment that this living entity undergoes. So pay attention here. His subtle body is given another body. So preta refers to without body. But when you are withdrawn out from the gross body, then you are awarded another body. So when you're being carried to the abode of Yamraj, you have been provided another body in which you have been dragged. And that body is a subtle body which we may not see, but is mentioned here and covers his subtle body. Cover means the gross body covers the subtle body. So there is another body provided. Now, and that other body will undergo all kind of experiences, what it is. All right, text number 21. While carried by the constables of Yamraj, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs, and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. Therefore, I mentioned, you will say, Are, he is bitten by dog. How can a dog bite the subtle body? No, he is provided another set of body, and which undergoes a lot of tormentations and tribulations now. So Prabhupada says, it appears that this was while passing from this planet to the planet of Yamraj, the culprit arrested by Yamraj's constables meet many dogs which bark and bite just to remind him of his criminal activities of sense gratification. I don't know why Kutta is mentioned here. Imagine somebody who had been a dog lover finds his dog only biting him out. I mean, how would a dog lover find this word, huh? I mean, he might get upset. Heartbreaking. He says, you are offending dogs. Why are you putting that dog's gonna bite me? Say something else gonna bite, but don't say dog. Remember, I told you this thing. I had this experience. I was going to office, and right next to my house was a big church. And in the morning there was a message. Remember, I said there was a message written: only humans have the access or the right to go to the heaven. All right, fantastic. And then I came back. And then I again saw the message. The message was changed. मुझसे रहा नहीं किया मैंने कहा message क्यों change कर दिया लोगों ने? Thought of the device changed. And the church was near. One of the church manager was a friend for me, a friend of mine from the same college, Ohio State University. So I became very restless. I called him. I said, "What happened? I saw the thought of the day. I said humans have the right. Only humans have the right to the heaven or the kingdom of God. Why have you changed the message?" And then he gave the reason. Let me tell you what's the message, then I'll give you the reason. And the evening, the message was written: only humans and dogs have the right to the kingdom of God. So I called up. I say, "Kuttu ne aisa kya khas kara hai? Jo kuttu wala matter." He said, "I want to tell you, one of the bigger donor of our church is a dog lover. She felt so offended that how come my dog will not go to the kingdom of God? You have to put down." I don't know how the dog lovers are going to find this, but eventually the dog lovers will be bitten by their dogs only. That is what he's saying here. Okay. Fine. Prabhupada talks about the sinful activities. One of them is sex life in the verse. We'll take forward. Text number 10. Under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through roads of hot sand with forest fires on both sides. But how can you have forest in a sand? Isn't it? Interesting. Under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through roads of hot sand with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by the constables because of his inability to walk, and he is afflicted by hunger and thirst. But unfortunately, there is no drinking water, no shelter, and no place for rest on the road. ये introduction है भी, हाँ? इसका एक्चुअल तो फिफ्थ कैंटो में आएगा, ये तो सिर्फ छोटा सा ट्रेलर चल रहा है, जर्नी होम। नंबर 23, तत्र तत्र पतन शांतो मूर्छितः पुनरुत्थितः पथ पापीयस्य नित्यस्तरसा यमसार्दनम. While passing on that road to the body of Yamraj, he falls down in fatigue and sometimes he becomes unconscious, but is forced to rise again. In this way, is very quickly brought to the presence of Yamraj. Thus, he has to pass 99,000 yojanas, not 900,000 yojanas, 99,000 yojanas, within 2 or 3 movements, and then is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which is destined to suffer. So that becomes almost 8 lakh miles. I was talking about that. Now, what happens ahead after going to Yamraj's abode? If you want to know about Yamraj's abode, you can read Ramayana. In the first part of Ramayana, it is mentioned that how Ravana had, because he was wandering all over the creation to fight, and then somebody told him, "Oh, you want to fight? Go and fight the king of death, Yamraj. He's the most powerful." So he came to meet him. So when he came to meet Yamraj, Ramayana explains, Valmiki explains. So first so how the reality in Yamloka looks like is about Yamraj is this side is Pitralok and this side is Yamlok. It's like day and night. So when our kya naam hai, Ravana, he entered via Pitralok and he was amazed by the beauty and opulence of the Pitralok. And then when he entered Yamraj's abode, the way I can explain is just day and night. If this was a day, beautiful day, that this was night. And the same Ramayana describes the horrifying vision of what Ravana saw. He heard the loud crying of all kind of people, and he became bewildered. He became worried. Where did I come? Why people are crying? Well, the people means they're howling, screaming, crying sound coming from all over the place, completely pitch dark like that. Like that has been described. He's placed in the midst of burning pieces of wood. His limbs are set on fire, in some cases made to eat his own flesh or have it eaten by others. So my question to all of you is, if his body is put to fire, then he should not have a body. Yes or no? If his body, his limbs is put to fire, he should not have a body. But this punishment is repeated again and again. How? Settle body तो settle body है. ये तो gross body की बात चल रही है ना. It's been given a body. So just like our nail, अगर ये टूट जाता है, it grows automatically. In this body, there are certain things which can recover. Our hand get cut, it will not get recovered, but certain things can recover. So the body which is provided here is such, even if your body is whole burnt, it will again heal. Even if your body is cut, again it will recover. That's how he's gone through again and again. You getting it? Text number 26. His entrails are pulled out by the hounds and the vultures of hell, even though he's still alive to see it. He's subjected to torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him. What is entrails? Anyone knows? What do you call as क्या कहते हैं, हिरण्यकशिपु के संग जो हुआ था, हाँ, intestines. So his stomach is tear apart and उसके जो भी अंदर का जो भी माला है, intestine, ना समझ गए ना, माला intestine, उसको निकाला जाता है. And no anesthesia. He's fully conscious and he's seeing that all that punishment. Next, his limbs are lopped off and torn asunder by elephants. Is held down from the hilltops, is also held captive either in water or in cave. Men and women whose lives are built upon indulgence and illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hells known as Tamisra, Anda Tamisra, and Raurava. 28 hells will be mentioned in the 5th canto later on. Therefore, in the Vedic civilization, sex life is allowed only in a restricted way. It is for the married couple and only for begetting children. But when sex life indulges in for sense getting illegally and illicitly, both the man and woman await severe punishment in this world or after death. I don't want to wish to say much on this, but I'm kind of, it's just, I will be forced to say rather. If you look at the world around, there has been a lot of things going on in the news these days about what happened in Calcutta. Something recently happened in Telangana and things like that. Where are we going? People have become mad for sex life. I mean, you get married, even after get married, they're mad for it. That they become so violent, so violent. I mean, I don't know, but the experience and some of the discussion that I observed, it looks like post-COVID, this has become multiplied, exponentially have increased. And so much so, our culture, the other day, I got a call from one of the parents, and the family was sobbing, and they were so troubled. Very wonderful practicing family, devotee family. Um, and has been a repeated uh, trend which I've been observing. Whoever kids have reached teenagers, the parents more or less having similar problem. If the kid is not social enough, then the kid have developed psychological problem. If the kid is social enough, then kid is his own existence is threatened. So here was a situation of the kid which was social. Now I have come from such a wonderful background, and the parents called me up and they said, our daughter is not speaking to us for last 2 days. And then they told the whole story, what has been going around. And the gist of the story is uh, this person or the child is studying in a college, and now the friends want to go for outing. Friends, I said, what friends? Said boys and girls together. I said, okay. Where? They want to go out for a long weekend to Goa. I said, what? When did this begin? That boys and girls were travel together, and for that also the child wants permission from parents. That I'm going with my boyfriend to go to Goa. Do I have your permission? And can you send me money? मैंने कहा क्या चल रहा है बोले we were so lost. And I was just thinking about it. I said, and the child is not able to understand. There's nothing wrong. The father is saying, I'll take you to Goa. What's your problem? You want to go? I'll take you to Goa. You tell me where you want to go. We'll take you anywhere. Why you have to go? No, there is a separate enjoyment with friends. We are 3 ladies, there are 3 boys, we're going to go. And to add to the misery, where are we going to stay? The parents are saying, how the situation became, where are we going to stay? They're not going to stay in hotel. There's something called as Airbnb something. This is called as, right, Airbnb? Yeah, this is called as some private lounges, some private accommodations like that. And the parents are telling me, Prabhuji, these are not houses, these are prostitution houses. बोले वो पागल हो गए बच्चे. And I was listening to this. I said, we also studied in college. Our going out, there was no question of opposite sex being part of it. Okay, you've gone for a movie, it's a different thing. You've gone for lunch and dinner, that's a different thing. Going out for 3 days for vacation. Imagine calling my father and saying, Father, send me money, I'm going with my girlfriend. वहां से मोबाइल से गोली मारते हो. वो मोबाइल फोन नोकिया के फोन से गोली निकल कर आती मेरे कान में. Where have we got? Can you imagine what's going to happen ahead? And this is of the story of the kids coming from devotee family. It's not about devotee family, non-devotee family. But if we leave our child amongst the vultures, sanga sanjayate, jaisa sang vaisa aa jata hai. And being a student life in a foreign culture environment is not easy. It's very turbulent. When you are so much, for example, Prabhupada is mentioning about sex life. The world is so surcharged, which you and I may not have an idea, but it has to be so surcharged that people are abusing each other so easily, isn't it? It's well documented, so much news is going on in Calcutta about giving a death penalty, what not. How can anyone have strength when that case is not being resolved and the story has not been forgotten? How come somebody can have strength to commit a similar crime elsewhere? I mean, what does it mean? The world has become so surcharged with this, the person have lost all sense. He thinks I can do and I can just get, I can get away with it. And in that environment, if we have to send our kids and allow them to live by themselves, how can they maintain their psychological state? How can they maintain? And then the other argument of parents is, what about their career? When I say, you think about it. What do you mean by career? I mean, where do you want to send your child? And if you want to have your child make a career, then you have to accept the reality. if the child could have this much guts and courage to call up the parents, देखो मैं आपसे पूछ के गलत काम कर रहा हूं, आप बाद में ये मत कहना बिना पूछे गलत काम किया. That is what the child is saying, ना. अरे why you are angry with me? I am taking permission from you doing the wrong thing. You should be happy that I'm at least taking permission. This is what the argument for the child was. If something like this, we're going to do it. So if ourselves, we are so much caught up that our child should have a good career and all that. These days, situation have changed a lot. You can have your child can have a good career as long as the child has a capacity. And if you have understood anything about destiny, why wouldn't destiny, if it isn't destiny for the child to do something, why wouldn't it happen? Only thing is the child has to make an effort. So this whole idea of sending child here and there and far off is so dangerous, so dangerous. Now imagine you're part of the community and society where we have stalwarts like Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj or S. Devamit Prabhu, Radheshyam Prabhu, Gurang Prabhu, many who left their prestigious opportunities. Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj was IIM graduate, if I'm correct. Gurang Prabhu and Radheshyam Prabhu and many others like him, like them, were IIT graduates. Now you're talking about making a career for your child. They had a flourishing career, left everything, and came to Krishna consciousness. Are they not getting food to eat? Are they not having a place to sleep? Are they not having somebody to travel with them? If everything has been provided for them, everything has been taken care for them, although they're not earning anything, you think your child, if he or she attempts to work, will not get anything for his or her maintenance? I see is a huge dichotomy. I don't know, maybe at my level, I'm not able to understand this. But if you're going to keep your child away from you, if in case you've already kept him protected, her protected, and now you want to be away from you, and suddenly you drop them in this kind of a violent culture outside, they will become crazy. And I can empathize with these kids because when I reached America, I went to America, I also had a lot of challenges. Coming from a certain background, you go to America and there's so much free mixing, so much things are happening. I couldn't relate to anybody. And in that situation, you develop. So I remember categorically, I was so lonely, I had nobody to talk to. I was living in a house with 5 boys. It's a townhouse. And I was on the second floor, ground floor, first floor, second floor. And I would come back from a lab. Every night there used to be party. First initial 1 or 2 months was okay. These boys will go out for other places for party. Then after that, they started hosting party. And you come back at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and in your house, the townhouse is like a duplex. You have one big hall, then there's a kitchen like this, and then you have a close hall. You enter the hall, and there's a wild party going on there. Whom do you speak? What do you speak? In your house, nonsense is happening. So I remember I used to enter from the back kitchen. वहां से लगाकर किचन में अपना कुकिंग करके चुपचाप प्रसाद लेके ऊपर जाता था. प्रसाद मतलब खाना लेके. I was not devoted that time. I'll go up. I had nobody. How will you speak to somebody whose culture doesn't match? And every night used to be blues party in that house. And these are all Indians, huh? There were 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Indians staying there. Every one of us had our rooms. 4 and 3 Indians were doing like this. Easy. And I remember how difficult. And of course, this loneliness was one of the reasons that I kind of knocked on the door of when I saw that somebody was, kind of not going to party and, was still living. That's why I told you the story, right? I went to their home with a Friday evening movie ticket. So that's the whole story about it. So because I experienced it, now my experience was what? Is close to what? Almost, this is 2014? This is 18 years ago? 2007? If my experience was 18 years ago, I could only imagine what would have happened to the world today. What would be the situation? So as a parent, you got to take a far greater responsibility. I would say what I had experienced there in America, the child can experience far much more worse than that, even being staying in India, if he's left all alone. So your responsibility does not end with getting your child admitted in a college. You'll have far greater troubles to face. You can make a note of this word of mine and you look around. You will cry far much more than you ever thought of. You'll be so shocked what goes on with your child like that. You have to handhold him until he or she gets onto the job, because then he or she has got maturity. Day boarding has to be thought of. You cannot put your child in a hostel. Cannot be. Now these days, boys, girls are staying together in a hostel. What would you do? Yeah, how would you handle all this thing? It's just impossible. And then to expect the child should become mature enough to be able to handle all the situation. Are you crazy? This is violence. No, your responsibility doesn't end. You have to handle the child, and therefore the good model is okay, whichever college, but you got to move to that place. The child remains with you, and the child from there goes to the college, comes back. So at least the child has somebody to talk to now. If it doesn't going to happen, then where would he? For how long do you think the child is going to call up and talk to you? It would be only for a few months. After that, that will also not happen, because eventually 3 or 4 years staying away will get onto that case. And this is what happened in this family. Every day, this family, the mother and daughter will read Bhagavatam for 1 hour. 1 hour. Had been chanting 16 rounds. Now this is the condition. It was just 1 year after. Very difficult. And for those of you who are yet not having kids, you can imagine after 20 years what will happen. All right, I guess we can conclude this. Where were we? Hell. So I just gave you a little experience of hell that is happening right now. Lord Kapila continued, my dear mother, sometimes, where I was? Which was I? 29th. Lord Kapila continued, my dear mother, it sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish conditions sometimes visible on this planet also. So I cannot give you the proper for it. 30th. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members with sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffers also. Text number 31. He goes alone to the darkest region of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves the world. Prabhupada writes 4 beautiful points here. Third line. A person who enjoys life by earning money or by envying others' life and who enjoys with family and friends will have to enjoy alone the resultant sinful reactions accrued from such violent and illicit life. Second, at the end of the first paragraph, but he who is a leader is especially punished. The result of material enjoyment is that one takes with him the sinful reaction only and not the money. The money he earned is left behind. Point number 3, next paragraph, third line. The direct offender is more responsible for sinful activities than the indirect enjoy, which means the husband works and the wife enjoys, the family enjoys, the husband will get the punishment. Either we leave the money or money leaves us, but we will be separated. Last paragraph, last line. The best use of money, as long as it is within our possession, is to spend it to acquire Krishna consciousness. Text number 32. Thus, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of God, the maintainer kinsman is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost his wealth. Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as Andha Tamasha. Having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as human being on this earth. And now chapter number 30, I want to talk about our birth. अभी डेथ हुई है, संसारा है ना, अभी मृत्यु हुई है, अभी जन्म की बात होगी. Text chapter number 30, I want to talk about what happens when you are taking birth. 9 long months. The suffering of that will be described in the next chapter. It's amazing, we have so much, despite studying scriptures, despite becoming devotees, looking what the world is happening around. So much passion is there that our child should go to IIT only. I don't know how much of you know about the truth of IIT. What happens in the IIT hostels? If IIT has technologically advanced, has a better teachers. I remember when I was in Vellore, the amount of illicit activities that happened in IIT, Vellore was nowhere compared to it. The kind of the gays and all, things that we have never even heard of that time, things that I had. Because IIT Chennai is where I would go regularly. And IIT Delhi I knew because I had friends. So my request to parents, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was making a point beautifully. I'll just say with that, I don't want to go much further in this subject. I hope they'll have good sense for themselves to make decisions. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj in Janmashtami lecture, if in case any one of you have heard, Maharaj started the discussion of saying that Lord Shri Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna too at the battlefield. And he had to apply Bhagavad Gita immediately. Please do not just memorize shlokas or learn Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada that. Show it in your application. And application is how you make decision. Your decision will determine how you're applying the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. When you have understood, when you have read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita is philosophy, Bhagavatam is later on. Everything that you need to know, Bhagavad Gita is mentioned. Now, further about developing affection, love for Krishna, that is Bhagavatam, fine. I mean, Bhagavad Gita already talks about karma. Bhagavad Gita already talks about destiny. Bhagavad Gita already talks about you're not the controller, you're not the doer. The 3 doers in the 5th chapter, in the 18th chapter, there are 5 doers. And all that has been discussed. When there is nowhere Krishna mentions about, the skill determines your success. Nowhere mentioned like this. Why we pay so much attention? So we are practicing, but still somewhere, somehow, we are, I don't know why we are not able to take into action. And then the child goes through so much crisis. What if you have made a career for your child, but he has lost Krishna consciousness? What will be your situation at that point of time? Is a thing that we got to think right now. Unfortunately, we don't think it that way. And if you get enamored by their career too much, I can bet you can make a career even if you are studying in a local college. I'm not saying any Tom, Dick, Harry college. Even if you find some good college, if your child is intelligent enough and is hardworking, which he would be or she would be if they're keeping a Krishna consciousness intact, they would excel in whatever they would do. And they may not have a fantastic starting as an IIT graduate may have. They may not have a 20 lakh package to begin with. They may begin with 3 to 4 lakh package. But you can make my note of this point. Within few years, they will be at par or better than IITs. Because in the beginning, they are just getting into the corporate life. But then when their actual, the wealth of their character and their ability to focus and do things properly, because they're disciplined, they're cultured, they have a character, they don't get into diplomacy, politics, all that. They're accountable, responsible. These are all Vaishnava qualities. Then their, the actual talent would eventually become visible. And you will see they shine. Well, we all have wrong calculations like what can be done. Anyways, these are some thoughts onto it about votive activities, as this chapter mentions. I'll pause here if in case anyone has any comments or anything to clarify, we can take 1 or 2 questions. Hare Krishna. Anything from the audience here? तुम लोग खुश हो रहे हो, बच गए. अभी हमारे बारे में तो बात हो ही नहीं रहा. वो अभी की स्थिति है. अगर नहीं सुधरोगे तो आगे देख लो क्या होगा. आगे तो हम बताने लायक भी नहीं रहेंगे 18 साल के बाद. 18-20 years, God knows what's going to happen. Yes. Mother Vandamni, please type in your question. If it is about subject, please write in.
I've already typed.
Online devotees, if they have, they can send their question, we'll read out.
I've typed it on the chat box, Prabhu.
So, Ashish Prabhu, anything? Yes, what's your question? बच्चों के लिए कितना एफर्ट मारना चाहिए उनके करियर के लिए? My question to you is, I want you and everyone else to do some introspection. How much effort your parents made for your career? Your answer is कुछ भी नहीं किया. So why you have a career today? Give them the right environment. It's a part of your destiny. It will happen. It is our controllership mentality that has gone into our head so strongly. We just want to control anything and everyone. That's the only thing. I don't understand this whole worriness about career. This is one of the biggest illusions we got into it. The duty of a parent, according to Bhagavatam, is to give the right culture and right environment. Your child will excel. If it is in destiny, would do it, nah. You cannot change his destiny. You cannot change your destiny. What will change other destiny? What's the point of it? No need for it. What to do? We are so accustomed. We want to control. We want to control everyone. Okay. Chat box पे लिखा है mother. Okay. Can somebody read out? What can be done if we have already made the mistake? Mother Sita Thakurani. I don't know what mistake you're talking about. Why Srila Prabhupada has mentioned one should die without the knowledge of one's family members? Please advise Prabhuji. Not Prabhupada said like this. I'm not sure how you understood it. Prabhupada said in Vedic culture, it is considered glorious if the parents or the elderly people walk away and then they die in that way. And he is indicating to vanaprastha and then to sannyas, which means quitting the family life. And why it is said to be glorious? Then you're not caught up with that attachment. And if you're caught up with attachment and attraction, and you die looking at your family members, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam te ayati ante kalevayam. So it's part of renunciation which has been described. And when you're leaving the family, it means you're not leaving the family to go to old age homes, leaving the family to go and take association of sadhus. And idea is to remember the Lord. So when you've died away from the family life, it means you died away remembering the Lord. That's the point. I'm not sure how we understood the point. Okay. All right. So we pause here. Thank you everyone for joining. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna.